Hello everyone and welcome to another game of World of Warships. Today we are watching Absolute Justice in the Hindenburg, the tier 10 German cruiser. He is on the map Okinawa in a 3-point domination game mode. It's obviously a tier 10 battle with a carrier but very few battleships. So let's see how this turns out. Now somebody in chat suggested to take points Alpha and Bravo. This isn't the best choice. The problem with the northern point here is this group of islands. Well, this very large island actually. Because it's kind of blocking the point from the rest of the map. So if you have too many forces committed at the northern point, there is no way to reinforce another point fast. And the islands also might be blocking shots, so basically if you commit too many forces here up to the north, then you are basically only getting 1 point. While if you look at down here, point B and C, if you are taking those points, then you can easily support each other, you can easily reinforce the other point and divert your ships when needed. The worst case obviously would be if you have battleships here going even north of point Alpha, because then they are really out of the game for quite a while. Now unfortunately there is a friendly battleship and it's the Yamato, the only tier 10 battleship they have, who is also committing towards the north. Now he is not so happy in chat, not the tier 10 battleship, but Absolute Justice is not so happy in chat since there are ships here committing to the north. But you know, not everybody is all that experienced. And it looks like the destroyers who initially tried to take this point are now retreating. Unfortunately, this battleship is still going north, and without support he won't be alive for long there. I mean, keep in mind there is also a carrier. If you are a lone battleship without any kind of support, you are an easy target. Now meanwhile, Absolute Justice is shooting an Arc Takao here. And they are successfully capturing point Charlie. It looks like there is almost no resistance down here, so if they can get this point quickly and then move their forces in the center, it looks good. The enemy is committing a lot of ships in the north, which means that the friendly team will start this battle with an advantage probably. And he's using his hydro and he sees the incoming torpedoes. He should have enough time to dodge those. Yes, unfortunately the friendly battleship here continues on an aggressive course without any support. And he isn't even sticking like around down here, he is going even further to the north. I mean, maybe he is turning around now, but he is already pretty much out of position. He is facing overwhelming odds here in the north, probably. There is a cruiser going to support him, but they have way too few ships up there. Also keep in mind, if this battleship now wants to retreat or rejoin the friendly forces, he has to show broadside to all the enemies inside Alpha. So he is in a pretty bad spot because he is already too far north. Now his retreat, well, will cost him a lot of hit points and he might get sunk there. We can see an incoming airstrike. He has a cruiser there to defend him, but they are way too isolated up there. Now it's a good thing that the majority of the friendly forces is down here and they are trying to take the more important points. The center point is still contested. Now since the enemies have quite a few forces here up in the north, the friendlies now have a window of opportunity to take this center point without too much resistance. Because as you can see, the enemies have actually battleships that took the way too far in the north right now. It would those ships a long time to rejoin the battle for descent. Hopefully they can get the Shimakaze before he is unspotted. There you go. Nicely done. Now the friendly team has the 2 points. All they have to do now is defend. There is a friendly destroyer who is lying a smoke screen, which will provide cover for absolute justice, so he can now freely shoot this Amaki. Unfortunately, nobody is spotting the enemy anymore because of the smoke screen. Somebody has vision again. So he can now sit here. The smoke screen is blocking vision. And he is saying thanks to the Kagero, which is pretty nice of him. Also, those torpedoes look pretty decent, and I think the Amagi is gone soon. It tries to turn, but I think it's too late, and yep. Now the teams are pretty even currently. The friendly teams have an advantage with controlling 2 zones. The bad news is they lost their Tier 10 battleship and the enemies... Well, the enemies lost their Tier 8 battleship, but... if those enemies come together and push as one force, it might be hard to stop. Now absolute justice is leaving this area here. There wasn't anything to shoot at from the smoke screen. Now it looks like the enemy team is split a little. The majority of the enemies seem to push here on the left side, which gives the friendly team kind of an opportunity to clean up the north a little bit. And there is a very low health Fletcher, which... no, he went down. That's nice. Now I think the best course of action for the friendly team would be to eliminate the enemies here in the north, because there aren't a lot. And then as Gather meet the charge on the other flank. Unfortunately the enemy team is a little bit spread out. The destroyers are in the back and not really in the front. If they had a destroyer meeting this force here in the front, maybe he could do something with torpedoes. Looks like the enemy battleship is kind of in the lead. And that's a bad thing, because the enemies still have a tier 10 battleship, which is, I think, pretty healthy. While the friendlies do not. They have a Bismarck and let's take a look. Yeah, the Bismarck is almost down. Oh, the enemy Des Moines is angled. Absolute Justice is shooting with high explosive, trying to set a few fires. And they found the enemy carrier. Now he is switching his target. He doesn't have great shots at the cruiser in front of him, and if he can take out the enemy carrier, that would be a huge deal. With fewer and fewer ships alive, they can't combine their anti-air, and so a strike from the carrier can be really deadly. The friendly team has less ships, but I mean, if they can get the enemy carrier here and the friendly carrier gets a few nice strikes in at the enemy battleship, we can pull this around. Also, the friendly team has a point lead because they controlled 2 zones for quite a while. Now the Hindenburg has torpedoes, so maybe he can get a nice torpedo ambush on the Des Moines going. The problem, of course, is you don't want to show broadside to a Des Moines, and you kind of have to if you want to launch your torpedoes. So maybe he can make something happen around those islands, but the Des Moines seems to be quite aware of this fact. And the Des Moines is probably now going around the island. Now a friendly destroyer is trying to take out the carrier. Fortunately, that means they have almost nobody meeting the enemy onslaught down here. And this Des Moines is pretty much joining with the rest of the enemy group. So the enemies are all here clumped together and the friendly forces just don't really have the firepower to take them out. It's also problematic that they don't have a battleship anymore, because a battleship can just take a lot of punishment in there. If they had a battleship in the front, tanking a lot of the incoming fire, then they would do a lot. Now Absolute Justice is getting a few nice broadside shots on this Neptune. And there is a citadel now, maybe a few more of those would be nice. Almost. And there goes the Neptune. Now if he can get a few more salvos like that to other cruisers, maybe. But the friendly forces are dwindling rapidly. Now the trump card they might still have is the carrier. If they can't take out the enemy carrier here and the friendly destroyer is getting pretty close, they can take out this... Oh... Well, so much for the friendly destroyer. Now maybe Absolute Justice can take out this carrier. There is no way he's surviving a fight against all of those combined forces. So he kind of needs the enemies to split up a little bit, and he probably needs a friendly carrier to take care of the battleship. That's the carrier dealt with. Now, the friendly team still has a point lead because they controlled this center for so long. Now the question is, how can they... Except now he would have a chance to try to go for Point Alpha, but... Yeah, he is spotted. There are way too many enemies down there. Okay, he's undetected again. He could try to sneak into Alpha, but it's unlikely that he can make something happen. The enemies are almost capturing Charlie already. And his hit points are way too low here. He's out of heals. This is not looking too good. And yep, unfortunately, this battle was a loss. Let's take a look at the results. Absolute Justice managed to get 2,370 base experience. And remember, his team lost. So he got more base experience than everybody on the winning team. Was certainly well played by him. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, and sometimes this happens. I think it came down to the friendly team losing their tier 10 battleship early on in the north, and they would have really needed something to stop the decisive push that happened from the enemy team. The enemies would have spread up after taking Point Alpha, or if the enemy battleship would have stayed behind and sniped, or if they had a friendly battleship who could have rallied the friendly team and intercepted this push, this would have been a win. Absolute Justice managed to get himself Confederate Kraken high caliber, and he did 193,000 points of damage. He certainly played this rather well, in my opinion, and I found it a nice and interesting game to watch. Unfortunately, it was a defeat. But yeah, sometimes it happens. So I hope you enjoyed watching this game, and I see you guys next time.